Hey, you're watching with Wendy. Today I'm going to show you how to make a super easy summer romper. What makes this really easy is that it's actually technically a romper that can also be worn separately as a tank and as a pair of shorts. For this project, you just need about 1.5 meters of lightweight linen. I went with this fabric that is faintly red. It has some striped designs on it. I'm going to first show you how to make the shorts, and then I'm going to make the tank top. The tank and the shorts both feature frayed edges. I just thought it would add a really fun summer look and also makes the tutorial even easier. Make sure you stick around until the end of the video so you see both the shorts and the tank. If you're new here, hit subscribe and I'll see you after the tutorial. Starting with the fabric, this is some lightweight linen that I picked up. I really like the design on it, and I wanted the stripes to go horizontally. I got 1.5 yards in total, and that should be enough for the shorts and also a tank top. Folding a part of that fabric in half, I laid down a shorts template that I had made from another pair of shorts before and started cutting my way around. If you don't have a shorts template, just lay down a pair of shorts that you already own, copying the front side and then the back side and leaving about 1/2 inch all the way around for the seams. I'll put a link in the description to the video where I showed how I made this template because it's super easy, and if you want to make them for yourself, it will make duplicating shorts in the future so much quicker. Because these shorts are going to be very loose, I wanted to make sure that there was enough room at the bottom in order to accommodate its flowiness, and then also on the sides I'm making it a bit wider than my original template. That gets me 2 symmetrical front pieces. Now we're going to get those 2 symmetrical back pieces. So I'm using the fabric that I just cut out to line up the back template so that it starts at the exact same height on the printed part of this linen as the front piece. This isn't necessary if you have no design on your linen, but because I have these stripes, I wanted them to line up all the way around. Again, I'm giving it a little bit of length along the bottom and also on the side so that it's more flowy. Okay, if we unfold those back pieces and put them right sides facing up, and then unfold those front pieces and place those right sides facing down, we can sew them together along the short, straight edge. Use a straight stitch and repeat this on both halves, and this will join them together at the inner leg. Unfold one of the pairs so that it's right sides facing up, and then lay down the other one right side facing down. We're going to line them up along those seams that we just created and pin them together, then sew all the way up the right side and all the way up the left side with a straight stitch. Here I'm just double checking that my fabric is meeting at the right spot so that everything stays symmetrical with these patterns lining up. I'm double checking again that this is looking good. Yay! We're going to fold the shorts so that they're right sides touching in the opposite direction, and that will get you the front and the back touching each other. Throw on a few pins on the right side and the left side and sew them together with a straight stitch all the way down the sides of the shorts. Since I have the pattern, I double checked again if they are matching, and so far so good. Alrighty, flip these shorts inside out, or right side on the outside, and they should be looking a lot like shorts. You'll want to try them on at this point to make sure they're super spacious and they can fit over your hips, because we're just going to add an elastic band to the waist. If everything is spacious enough to go over the hips, grab the middle of the front and the middle of the back, lay those on their side, and we're just going to measure from one end to the other to know how much fabric we need for the waistband. Measure the distance between those 2 center points twice just to be safe. It looks like mine is about 19.5 inches, so I'm going to cut a strip of fabric that's a bit longer than that. I fold some leftover fabric in half to reach that 19.5 inches and made sure it's 1 inch wider than the elastic band I planned on using. If both of those are satisfied, go ahead and cut out your strip of fabric for the waistband. The first step for this waistband will be to seal it off with the right sides together along the short edge. Pin that seam to the back of the shorts and then make your way all the way around. We're going to sew it together with a straight stitch. Flip the waistband so that it's covering all the raw fabric from that seam. We're going to pin it so that it's wide enough to fit the elastic band that we're going to use, and it has to be long enough to cover all the raw edges. I sew it down with a straight stitch just along that seam that connects the waistband to the shorts so that it's camouflaged away. When you're sewing, make sure you leave a gap so that there's enough room for you to slide in the elastic band all the way around. We'll seal off the gap later. With an elastic that fits snugly around your waist, I pin one of the free ends to the raw seam fabric and then put a safety pin on the other end to help me thread it all the way around the shorts. After trying it on, I realized that I didn't really like the elastic I originally chose, so I grabbed this one that's a bit wider and threaded it through. When you have those two raw edges coming together, we're going to add a zigzag stitch to seal off that loop. Tuck the elastic into the waistband, and then you can seal off that opening of the waistband using a straight stitch. Ta-da! It has a waist! This last step is to taper the bottom of the shorts so that it's at an angle that you like. To trim the shorts though, you can't just cut straight across. First, you have to grab that X seam point at the crotch, pull down on that part so that it adjusts the shorts to lie in a way that will work for cutting them shorter. Then I flatten out the fabric and cut at an angle. I'm aiming to go from the inner leg up to the top of that white strip on the other side, so I just go across as straight as possible. On the back side, I lift up the fabric just to make sure that seam is also nice and straight. I gave it a little bit of a trim to straighten out one of the edges. Then you repeat the same thing on the other half of the leg, cutting upwards at a slant towards the point where you want it to be. Give them a trim to make sure they're nice and straight, and then try on the shorts to see if they're a right length for you. I was pretty okay with the shorts at this point, and so I flipped them inside out and sealed off that side stitch at the bottom, just because when we cut into it, we actually loosened the stitch, so I wanted to make sure it was finished. I also cut off the excess little bits of fabric so that they wouldn't show, and then this last step is to add a straight stitch all the way around the bottom edge, about ½ an inch away from the edge, and that's just going to help us to lock down the fabric before we start fraying. When that stitch is done, go ahead and start pulling on the loose threads to fray the bottom of the shorts. This is really easy with linen and cotton just because of the way it's woven. I keep pulling on the threads until they reach the point where I had laid down that stitch to seal off the bottom, and then I trim off the excess threads with a pair of scissors. Here is a closer look, so I'm pulling on those loose threads to go as far as they can before they hit that stitch that I added to stabilize the fabric, and then once I've pulled out a significant number of threads, I trim them off so they all line up. All this gets you a pair of shorts, but real quick, I'll show you how I made the top so that it can become a romper. I laid down a template that I already had for a top that would fit me, and then cut all the way around to get the neckline, the shoulders, the bottom, and the side. The bottom I made a little bit shorter than my template because my template is meant for something that goes all the way down to the hips, and then along the sides I gave it a bit more space so that it fits loosely. Instead of following the original armhole, I cut it so that it was a bit more on a straight angle, and that was just to help it to fit a bit more loosely and look a bit more summery. With the pattern out of the way, I also took this opportunity to widen and lower the neckline. And that gets you the front piece. We're gonna go ahead and trace out the back piece. I lay down the front piece so that it's completely camouflaged with the back piece, and then lay down the back plate on top of that, and that helps to make sure that the front and the back are going to meet at the same points along the sides. Following the shape of the back template, I cut out the neckline and then widened it so that it could reach the shoulder that I cut for the front. I followed the exact same slope as the front all the way down to the armpit of the shirt. I also followed the curved shape of the bottom and followed the width of the side. To help the front and the back of the armhole meet properly, I cut a little bit deeper into it to make the curve more perpendicular. Typically with tank tops, the front cuts in a lot deeper than the back, so I was a bit more aggressive with the curve on the front. I sewed these two together along the shoulders and then sewed them together with a straight stitch along the two sides. You can flip it so that the right side is on the outside and then give it a try. I noticed that on mine, I didn't cut the front armholes to be wide enough, so I went in a little bit deeper on the front side. My trick for cutting this out is that I cut it on one side and then take the scrap piece of fabric, flip it over to the other side, and follow that to make sure it's symmetrical. To finish off the neck hole, I decided to cut out my own bias tape. The way you do this is you cut out 1.5 inch strips on an angle with your original fabric, and we're going to sew these together into one big long strip and then attach that to the neck hole, and that's going to help seal it off without any weird puckering. Make sure all of your strips are facing the right direction. Also make sure that they're cut so that they're meeting on the exact same angle. We're going to sew them right sides together along that cut straight edge, and that's going to get you one long strip of fabric. I've put a link below to another tutorial where I used this exact same method. This time when I was doing this, I don't think the camera captured it, but basically you sew the strip to the tank all the way around once and then fold it over and sew it down with a straight stitch. To finish off the armholes, I used a zigzag stitch to attach a 1.5 inch strip of fabric and then frayed all of the ends like I showed before. And similarly, I added that one stabilizing stitch along the bottom and then frayed the bottom of this top to be just like the shorts. This gets you a frayed tank top, which looks pretty cute by itself, and then it can also be paired with the shorts to turn into a romper, so it's kind of like 3 outfits in one. I tuck the shirt into the shorts and together it looks complete. You can sew it together if you want it to be stable, but I kind of like having them separate because it gives me more flexibility. And that's how I made a very easy summer romper. Another nice thing about the two pieces is that you bypass the washroom struggle that comes with rompers. Compared to regular rompers, it's just way easier to go to the washroom in a two-piece romper. If you liked this project, let me know, and you can also find more pictures of this project and more projects on my Instagram. It's @withwendy. Also, if you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. I put up new videos every Wednesday and every Saturday. Last 2 weeks, I went on a bit of a break to just for full disclosure, coming up in July, it's going to be 1 video a week just because I'm going to be traveling. Thank you all so much for watching, and also for those who are supporting me on my Patreon. That's all I have for today. I will see you next time. Bye.